Rayat Shikshan Sanstha's online learning program welcomes you all. Today we are going to learn a poem named Where the Mind is Without Fear, composed by Rabindranath Tagore, a great poet. Let's learn the facts about the poem. Where the Mind is Without Fear is a poem written by Rabindranath Tagore before India's independence. The original Bengali language poem was published in 1910 and later on translated into English language by Rabindranath Tagore himself. The poem Where the Mind is Without Fear has been taken from Nobel-winning collection of poems Gitanjali, which was composed by Rabindranath Tagore. It's appeared as poem number 35 in English Gitanjali. Let's recite the poem. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thoughts and action. Into the heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Let's learn the meaning and introduction of the theme. The poem Where the Mind is Without Fear has been written by the poet in the form of a prayer to God for the true freedom of his country from the rule of colonizers. The poet dreamed about a country where everyone can live fearlessly and have confidence in themselves. The poet visualizes a country where education would be available for one and all, and people can give their best by working hard. The poet also imagines a country where all countrymen to be truthful and broad-minded. He desires and prays for an overall awakening of people of the nation. Let's learn the meaning line-wise. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. Meaning, the poet is praying and visualizing about a country where every citizen can live fearlessly. Even one in the country should be full of self-confidence and their heads should be high with dignity. Figure of speech used in the poem. Alliteration, repetition of sound of W and H. Synecdoche, mind and head. They stand as a part for the whole citizen. Where knowledge is free. Meaning, the poet imagines a nation where knowledge is accessible to one and all, since knowledge and education will lead the people from darkness to light. Knowledge should not be restricted for anyone. Where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. Meaning, the poet wishes for a nation where people are not divided on the basis of caste, color, creed, class, etc. According to the poet, the unity of people has been broken up into the fragments, but in the imaginary country of poet, narrow domestic walls of divisions are not required. Figure of speech used: metaphor, as narrow domestic walls are compared with narrow-minded divisions of society, where words come out from the depth of truth. Meaning, the poet wishes a country where all countrymen would be truthful and would speak from the depth of their hearts fearlessly. Here, according to the poet, people should be honest in thought. Figure of speech: alliteration. Sound of W is repeated. Where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection. Meaning, in such a country, people would put great efforts, give their best, which would ultimately make them achieve their goal of perfection. Here, tireless striving refers to the continuous efforts made by countrymen to achieve goals. Figure of speech used: personification, as tireless striving stretches its arm. They have given the quality of human beings. And alliteration, as repetition of the sound of S, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Meaning, here poet dreamed about a country where people would believe in logical things and ideas. Clear stream refers to rational thinking and broad-minded actions. Dead habits refers to the superstitious beliefs and actions. So poet wishes for a country where clear stream of reason and logics would not be lost in the dull desert of narrow-minded actions and beliefs. Figure of speech used: metaphor. Clear stream refers to logical and rational thought, whereas dead habits refers to irrational and superstitious beliefs. Where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action. Meaning, it is the dream of the poet that every individual would be led by broad-minded thoughts, action and ideas, as it's very important for the growth and progress of every citizen of the country. Here, thee refers to God, and poet prays to God to enlighten the path of all country people so that they can go forward in their life with broad outlook. Figure of speech used: synecdoche. Here, mind stands as a part for citizen whole. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Meaning, here at last poet requests and prays to God to guide his country people to move towards the heaven of freedom, where they can stay more awakened and intellectually free. So at last we came to know that the poem is a prayer. Figure of speech: apostrophe, a direct address to Father, God. Thank you everyone for understanding the meaning.